Remember, Shrikant, don't be a minimum guy. That's good, my boy.
Hello and welcome to Indulge. My name is Ayesha. Joining me today are two of the hottest directors in India right now. They are the people who've given us memorable hits such as Ko Goa Gone and Stree. And now they're back in the news with their epic show, The Family Man, Season 2, which went on air recently. Hi Raj, hi DK, welcome to Indulge.
Hi, Aisha.
And congratulations, so finally The Family Man Season 2 made it after such a long wait.
Yeah, finally it's out and can be more relieved and overwhelmed at the same time. So
But tell me, both of you, it was supposed to release in October last year. Then I understand, all the pandemic and all happened. Then January this year. Why did you guys take so long? Were you just, trying to avoid any kind of controversies that would come up before the release? What was the reason? What was going on in your mind? What's the story behind the scenes?
mammoth task. Usually itself it's a mammoth task. We are coming as a second season, a follow up, and it was highly anticipated. And the pressure was on from the day one. Season one dropped. People finished it overnight and said, "Where is season two?" So from then to now, we've been asked that question continuously. So it was a big challenge to do it. And now COVID struck, right? So we were struggling to figure out how to do the post production, how to shoot some pieces that were left. And it's just not easy. It might feel like we can figure out ways to do it, but just the fact to coordinate with each other, look at the edit, change the edit, look at the storyline, how do you restructure it? Everybody's in different houses, bad internet is enough to screw you up. And then so you're on the phone call. So it's just a mammoth task. And we were almost ready at that point. But we also knew that we had to shape it a little more because we couldn't shoot a bunch of things that we wanted. So that took a while. And yeah, we thought we were almost ready to go, but then I think they were just waiting for a better time to release. So we had set it off to them long back. We were done with it, and we were just waiting for the right time to release. So they said we should just wait for a good time. So once the show is out of our hands, it's in the hands of the release. When they decide to do it.
One very interesting thing is season one from Bombay, you went to Kashmir. Then season two from Kashmir straight down to Chennai. And Chennai as a city, basically a lot of South Indian filmmakers use that as, the premise for their films, for their storytelling, for their narrative. And not many people really come to Chennai for whatever reason. But what really triggered this thought of, actually exploring the city and also, setting up your like narrative in that particular city, in a South Indian city, not like any of the other, like say Hyderabad or Bangalore? What really drew you to Chennai?
The story, I guess, right? I mean, the subject we picked, obviously, naturally, it pulled us down south, and that's the reason. And I mean, needless to say, right? Raj and I are both from the south. We're both from actually the very southern part of Andhra Pradesh. We're literally like 100 miles from Chennai, and we've always gone to Chennai for summer vacations or this or that, or for interviews, or just sometimes just to watch a film. It's not that far away. And me personally, I'm even
That's
a
the
Tamilian.
closest city to.
Yeah. And like Chennai was the closest city where we were growing up. And me, I'm also a Tamilian. And our co-writer Suman is also a Tamilian. So for us, it felt like a good opportunity to show and showcase this city, right? That we've all grown up in. And probably not many people in Hindi cinema have shown the city. So for us, it was coming from that place, and it is fun. It is fun going down south and meeting all my relatives and saying, "Hey, I'm in Chennai shooting a film now." They're like, "Oh, really?" And they're all like, they all came to shoot to watch the shoot.
Yeah, and also the show itself, the show's premise is a very unique premise that lets you explore India in all kinds of all places, everything in India. It's a true pan-India show is how we thought of. Earlier, the pan-Indian film would have a definition that's different. It's just the film that plays everywhere. Versus this is about inclusivity. where we are trying to go beyond Hindi Bollywood borders and just look at the whole country as a whole. So it didn't matter. I mean, it's like we really would love to focus on various areas of our country, and Tamil was very natural. We've been waiting to do something with Tamil, something with Telugu. We've just been waiting to do it because we also felt like we could be more authentic doing it, because you're from there too, so it's an added advantage.
Also, another thing that I was intrigued by is that you said Family Man 1, like season 1 was also inspired by the reports that you had read in papers and all of that. And so is season 2. What kind of research really went into making of season 2?
Irrespective of where the show is set, the one thing we need to do research is about first getting the culture right, and being sensitive. See, I may not be very conversant if I go and set the show in Haryana. I need to understand it better. So the research number one is to figure the culture and the people and the sensitivity and the sensibilities there. And beyond that, it's also about, even if it's a fictitious story, the idea is to figure the geopolitics in a way, like understand the geopolitics, understand the situation, understand. See, it's not like it's not a true story, nor is it a focus on any specific subject. But if you're doing it, then we'd rather get those things right. And everything is fictional, from task, the department of task, to anything. They're all fictitious places, but research goes into the procedural part of it. How would you do it? How would a spy go and meet another person? How would he get the information? Or those are the real aspects. So you get all the real aspects as to how an interrogation is done, or liaisoning is done, or any of this. How can I counter a procedure, or in the first season, there is a gas attack that's been planned. Is it possible? Is it, how does someone do it? So those things are the detailing is what I'd like to say we research a lot about, so that it still feels as authentic in a fictitious story, so you feel it's real. So the experience is much more truthful.
Yeah, I mean, the best fiction always is something that reminds you, or makes it believable that can happen in real life, right? No matter what fiction, unless you're making Star Wars, then you're totally awesome.
No, but my question was specifically about the Tamil Elams and the entire movement that had occurred. So what kind of, were there references that you saw in books or in films or other documentaries? Also, where did you find reports which actually gave you the real picture of what had happened and what occurred?
See, our research expert is Suman, and so plus we also of course sit and discuss all the stuff. It's more like you've seen things growing up. Number one, you're aware of things that happened when we were growing up and watching news. You get it. You also already have a base of it. But beyond that, it's really the documentaries, some out, some not out. Lot of stuff is there online, and then you talk to people. You make sure that the documentary is not skewed enough. It's presented a balanced view, and you talk to people on the ground. It's really people on the ground matching with the documentaries or the write-ups you see, to see that if it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So did the two of you do actual legwork? Did you go to places? Did you speak to the locals and try to understand? Because Chennai also was like a hotspot where a lot of people used to come and hide over there and live like a covert life. So were there those kind of interactions that happened before the actual show was put together when you were doing all your research?
I mean, yes. I mean, what you're saying might have been true back in the 80s, 90s, right? But we are still setting our story today. So it's a slightly different reality now. To answer the part about the research, we actually have like, beyond us who wrote the story, there is another writer on board who is actually a Sri Lankan Tamilian who was providing us the context, the emotional core of the characters, besides the language. So we were being very conscious that if you're doing something, you do it right. You don't mess around with sensitive or just you don't mess around with cultures in general.
But the two of you, even looking at your previous work, it's not just about entertainment. Of course, there are, lighter moments throughout the narrative where we really laugh our hearts out. And there's so much fun. It's entertaining. But somewhere also, you're bringing to the fore things that are usually hidden under some kind of political garb, where people don't really openly discuss about it until unless you're not really interested in the politics of the issue. So, what, as filmmakers, as creative persons, as somebody who's in the arts, how important is it for both of you to tell such stories? To bring it out to the masses about what happened, what could have happened, or even if it's a fictional account, somewhere there is a way to, share these stories.
I mean, I don't think we're keen on doing anything political, right, Raj? I mean, but relevance is something. Relevance is something else, right? I mean, we always try to tell human stories. We are creating human beings and telling human stories. And in the case of A Family Man, there is a certain geopolitical context to it, but yeah, I wouldn't call it like a political thriller, or we're not trying to get into, or
Getting
not
into
even.
the
We are not
political,
trying to say, yeah.
the political dynamics is something that is slightly is not the scope of our film. I mean, like you need to be right in showing an MLA or in showing a minister's office and things, and it's a fictitious story. So you're thinking, what if this happens? What if this
Mm,
happens? So
mm,
the people have to be right and the detailing have to be right. But I don't think we have set out to make a political statement at
mm,
all,
mm,
and because that's we're not that kind of filmmakers, nor is there an intent to project a certain part that is being misrepresented or overrepresented or skew the balance and stuff. So really, it's the show is back to call the family man because he's a family man and who's
mm,
dealing with who's juggling these two parts of the life. And most of the stuff that you're showing is part of the plot and
mm,
incidental, but we just want to make sure that the projection is balanced, so
mm,
you don't
mm.
take sides.
Was Samantha always the first choice? Because she's been getting some really rave reviews, and she has put up a note herself about how, very emotional, because it's very rare to get her to actually write like a long post about
Mm.
certain things, right? And she's someone who's very vocal and very forthcoming. But this felt like she was really attached to the project. So was she always the first choice, and how was it to groom her into Raji? Because she's unrecognizable, and I think that itself is a huge achievement.
Well, I
Um,
mean, go on, Raj.
so,
Yeah.
no, she was the only choice. She was,
Mm,
I mean, like we were looking for a lot of people. It's not like we auditioned a lot of people, but we were talking in talks and figuring out, can she play? Because we were looking for a Tamil speaking actor. And Mukesh Chandra, our casting director, was also coming up with lots of ideas. So we thought Samantha's name came up, and we said, will she do it? Because she's never done something like this, and
mm,
it's pretty demanding, physical. It's not an easy job, and everybody thinks of her as a, there are all these happy movies, and of course there is really cool stuff like Super Deluxe she's done, but so we weren't sure. But when she heard the briefs, she really, really wanted to do this, and she convinced us into saying that how she can pull off this. I say that because it's funny that usually of course you have to convince each other, but the convincing part is about the physical part. Is that
yeah.
the fact that you need to be in that shape, in that strength. It can't look unrealistic when she's punching people or taking off people twice her size and stuff like that. So that she aced it, and the fact the burning eyes and the whole intensity she brought into the character, we couldn't have. I think we just pat on our shoulders for doing a great casting on that job.
Yeah, no,
I think.
no, that's it. She was basically she was living like once she was. I think she's a passionate actress to begin with. I think she
Mm,
gives her all to any role she does, and I could see that firsthand experience. The moment she was in the role, I mean, I stopped seeing Samantha.
okay.
I just started seeing Raji, and she was in it. She was in the character, and the tears in her eyes were real.
Somebody, one of the comments that I saw in one of the reviews is that Manoj is like water, ice, and Raji is like fire. So would you kind of agree with that compliment that has come their way?
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's a great comparison, right? Like a fire and ice. But actually, somebody made that comparison, and I'll take it if it makes sense. I'm not sure who's ice and who's fire, though, right, Raj? It's hard to tell.
Shrikant Tiwari is chill. At the end of it, he is chill. He is sitting there and making up stories, and he is hiding facts, from anybody. He's trying to protect everyone. So he is the cooler guy, and she's the fiery, kick-ass, always on. She's fire and he's ice.
Also, tell me a little bit about, is the family man itself. There's Priyamani, Suchi's character, very strong. Likewise, the daughter, teenage daughter, very strong. Basically the women in your, family man are matlab equal tucker. Like they are as good as the men. They are not going to let go of what is right. And, and again, it's not very preachy. It's just like there. Like how it plays out in our homes when the teenage daughter says he's a boy, so he's getting an iPhone, he's getting an Apple Watch. I'm a girl, I'm not even getting a laptop, which is true in most homes. So these little insights make it.
Sorry, I take it as a compliment. We take it as a compliment that whenever I hear someone saying that we edged out really strong female characters, that's something we strive for. From our first film onwards, from Showing the City, from Radhika Apte's character to every time we do these, the idea is to dispel some of these stereotypes and try and create strong female characters. And even though Priyamani gets so much hate from inherent misogynistic society, that how could you do this to your husband who's fighting a greater cause, we stuck to it. We didn't want to change it. We got this even in season 1, and we stuck to it, to her being a human being. Our whole idea is every character is a human being. So the more we show them as a human being, it's a better story. No other purpose. You pick a person, one, even if it's a small scene, even if you look at the Prime Minister or Sambit, any of these guys in the film, in the series, it's you giving them enough attention for that, even if it's a brief time, that you see them more than just a cardboard cutout of a person who's evil, who's bad, who's high power, who's low. Everybody is human, and so even the cop that is looking for Dhriti later, and everybody has their own personalities. So that way, yes, a lot of focus is always spent on women, and we really wanted to break Dhriti's character out this time. And somebody called and said it was just unexpected that she would do that. I thought the father is going to come and save her.
Tell me, is it because you have such women at home? Your mums were like that, your sisters?
I grew up with a bunch of, my mom had my mom's had like 6 sisters they are. And each one of them is stronger than the other. They're all self-made women. They're singers, they're artists, they're professors, and they've all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know all the women in his family. I don't know any of the men, I think.
They come from a very small town, almost village, where it's unheard of for people to do this, to go higher studies or go abroad or learn. Everybody was self-made. And I think even if they didn't tell me, I don't know, they told me pinpointedly, be nice to a girl. The whole idea was to just learn from it. I think it's just an environment you grow up in.
Yeah. I lost my father when I was 14, 15, right? So my mother was the sole breadwinner in my family, right? She was me and my sister, and my mother was the head of the family. So, I grew up in a family that was run. Actually, my mother was the provider of the family. So it goes without saying. And, and she wasn't even working while my father was alive. She wasn't even working. It's not like she was a working woman before that. She actually went from being a homemaker to a working woman at that point. So I think these things do influence you a little bit.
Okay, so since both of you know each other so well, your friendship dates back to your engineering days. Is that since then?
Yes.
When was the first time that you met each other? Was it the freshers party, or was it backbench when you were like, okay, where do
No,
I
we
fit?
were. Yeah, we didn't go. Our college wasn't so cool to have like a freshers party or anything. We were just, there was a lot of ragging and stuff going on, but there were
Okay.
cultural meets and quizzes and stuff in our college, right? I mean, we were both in the same year, same batch, but
Hmm.
I was in computer science and he was in mechanical engineering. But
Hmm.
but I mean, engineering colleges by default are not so
Let's
huge. There are
let us
no
say
hundreds
we
of
met.
students.
Let's say
Yeah,
our thing was we were quiz mates first. We were like
Okay.
on the same quiz team.
Okay. So
quiz
research
and
has
dumb
been part of
charades.
your life ever since then, like
I,
researching and knowing more.
I know. Forever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been
figuring out answers and figuring and solving issues and trying to win the prize.
So tell me, you were talking about shooting during the pandemic, and I also know that you shot for Glitch for Unpaused with
Yes.
Gulshan and Sayami. So how different is it today to make a film with this looming threat of who will catch the virus?
it's
So how
awful.
has it changed?
Happy. It's just not
Awful.
happy conditions. It's
Yeah.
awful conditions. You are
Okay.
constantly 50% of your mind is on that,
Hmm.
on just being careful, telling that person to be careful, telling this person to be careful. Have
Hmm.
you done
Hmm.
this? Has he been tested? Why are they so close? Can you get people away? It's just for me, it occupies maybe 75% of my head. It's not the right way to do it. Hence it is just makes it freaking multiple times challenging to make a film in these times. So
Hmm.
and
Yeah, it's like imagine you're sitting and reading a book, except you're sitting in the middle of a noisy, crowded street. Now try and focus on the book. I mean, it's
Hmm.
going to be that much harder, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh.
mean, you would rather kind of, it almost feel, unless it's inevitable, you would just kind of wait for things to get better and then go and shoot. You'll just get
Hmm.
better results that way.
Your stories have been a mix of say crime comedy, because Stree also was like wow, and then you told about Show in the City. So what kind of material do you read? What kind of books do you read, and where do you get ideas from? Is it like crime thrillers that you read a lot, or is it like you know books about humor? What is it?
I mean, I used to read a lot, and
Okay.
then I guess I just stopped reading. Like once I started making films, so I don't, yeah, no, I don't think we've been, either of us. I don't think we've been reading a lot in the last
haven't had time to read.
decade or so.
It's just
Yeah.
every minute of the day is consumed by films and making it and writing it. To read a book, I'm missing it sorely. I still buy. I have a lot of books that I have bought, but I haven't read more than the first few pages, unfortunately.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
The material is coming from just being, I don't know, just being a little bit, I don't know, young at heart. Just when you sit down and say not take things too seriously, I guess.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
when I see people fighting over things and that are not even meant to be, it's
Hmm.
almost like I wish they can meet us and they understand that that it's all coming from a place of warmth and heart and a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, then every subject that's told is so dry and dramatic and
Hmm.
it becomes peachy. So I think humor helps us so much in making even some of the implausible scenes plausible,
Hmm.
or putting like a little point across that would otherwise be preachy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Adding to that, our third writer on Family Man, Suman Kumar, right? By the way,
Hmm.
Suman and I were classmates from high school. Before I even met Raj, we were classmates from the
Okay.
small town in high school, right? And both of
Mm-hmm.
us, in those days, very misguidedly, all decided we're going to be writers. So he wrote a spy novel, and I wrote a spy novel, and both of, I mean, literally only one other person read it. We both swapped each other and read it in those days. So
Okay.
we used to read a lot of these spy novels and James Hadley Chase, or be it Robert Ludlum or Sidney Sheldon, all those novels that used to be popular,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to read all those, and we used to write. And then of course life happened, and we stopped doing that, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
many years later, I guess we caught back with that and started writing, but a different kind of writing for movies.
So tell me, is it going to be OTT projects for you next, or are we going to see Go Goa Gone's 3 sequels? What is happening on that front and OTT? So where are both of you heading
And look,
towards?
I'm going to make it very quick so that you can get all the answers about the chat.
Mm-hmm.
No, OTT is giving us so much freedom to explore as filmmakers a lot. that we're able to tell stories, we're able to tell nuanced and detailed stories like this, and with subplots and plots and action in it, drama in it, humor in it. It's just given us unbelievable platform to explore as filmmakers. I almost feel like this is the best platform for a filmmaker to explore, to say something. So we are loving it. We have two other projects coming up in OTT, but essentially we're filmmakers. We started as film. We want to see our films in theaters, and we have like 4 scripts sitting there, and 2 of them cast. We're just waiting for the right time to get up with it.
What about the Russo brothers Citadel? Anything that you can talk about that? What is the way forward over there?
We're writing it right now. It's in development. It's a long development process. I think it's going to take a while. It's a long process, coordinated with various teams across the world. So it's going on great, but it's going to take a while.
Okay. Thank you so much, Raj and DK. It was a pleasure speaking with both of you. And please keep entertaining us with such fabulous work. There's a method to the madness that they say, right? And I feel your work has that method. Everything is so logical, but still it's crazy. And we can't stop laughing. We can't stop enjoying. It's like, I think all of us are on a different high. So thank you. And thanks so much for giving Indulge time.
Thank you.